Yes.
If anyone has lost a pair of glasses, yes, I do. Okay. Hooray. That was easy.
Hopefully we won't get too distracted by the food next door. You already ate. Very good. Yes. Good job. Please close that door. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have been seeing that the many points, very subtle points. First thing we have been looking at is that Jnanam does not need any help by way of action, karma. Karma is not needed at all. Karma is not needed because it's an independent pursuit, and the pursuit of Jnanam, Atma Jnanam, is deliberately placed, positionally speaking, at the end of the Veda. Why is it placed at the end of the Veda? Because just to show that it is completely separate from karma. First portion, karma. It is with lot of toys one plays, lot of treatises of wish fulfillment in the form of mantras, in the form of incantations, in the form of various spells, etc., especially if you talk about the Atharva Veda. So this is the arrangement. Even location-wise, Vedanta is at the end. Why? As we have seen, the adhikari is different. The one who is interested in what? In knowledge is an entirely different person than the one who is interested in karma. Because the one who does karma is for what? Phala. Phalaya karma. Bhogaya karma. So nobody is interested in karma. One is interested in karma phala. Result of action is what one is interested in, not in action at all. And the result of action gives priya, only that kind of action. And we have seen priya, apriya here. And then the definitions of what is desirable also varies from time to time, person to person. What is desirable, what is undesirable, that also varies. And so the karma is for who? The karma is for the person who wants karma phala. If this much is understood, then we can look into what is the makeup of the person who wants karma phala. That person feels that without this karma phala, I am incomplete. Karma phala means result of action. So if I don't have this, I am not okay. That is the person to which the first three portions, the first three Vedas, especially the first portion of the three Vedas, are directed. That is the person who says, I don't have enough. I need more. I need to be more accomplished. I need more possessions. I need a better relationship with my family. I need more wealth. I need a better job. For all these, there are homas, yajnas, so many things are there. And since the karma is finite, karma phala is also finite, you have to keep doing homa. Today we heard one mantra in the morning. Ganapati mantra. Vara varada sarva janam me vasham anaya swaha. You who is the giver of all boons, give me the boon of controlling lots of people all at the same time. Why is this mantra justified? Because it's being done for the temple. That's a different thing here. May the temple be a kendra, a center of attraction. That's a different thing. And that's not benefiting the temple, it's benefiting the temple goers. But people do this for world domination and all. These are the kinds of mantras. They are called Vashikarana mantras. So this is all incompatible. Adhikari, why is it incompatible? Because who is the adhikari for Vedanta? The one who is the adhikari or the qualified student for Vedanta does not want the world domination. Is perhaps still feeling incomplete, is perhaps still suffering from sense of insecurity, but the methods of removing the insecurity is completely different. The methods chosen by the adhikari, the qualified person to study the first portion of the Veda is what? Quick fix, instant gratification. Right now it is hurting, right now it is paining, right now I want relief. That kind of a band-aid approach. I do something and I get something out of it. I am sick, I want something quickly. Nothing wrong, but I'm just telling you the difference in the adhikari. The one who studies Vedanta is not looking for the quick fix. Why? Because they have been there and done that, and been there and done that, and been there and done that for several lifetimes. And each time they look for a quick fix, there is a kind of an uncomfortable sense of deja vu. I have been here, this is not going to work. Why am I doing this? I don't even want this. Why am I doing this? That feeling is there. And we saw the Mundakopanishad mantra, Parikshya lokan karmachitan nirvedam ayat brahmanaha. Nirvedam means a slight disgust. Remember the aparokshanubhuti verse. Yeah. Yathaiva kakavishhtayam. Kakavishta means what? A rare gem. Crow dropping. So the attitude you have towards crow dropping, cultivate that attitude towards everything in the universe. This is the advice given to us in another text attributed to Adi Shankara, which is Aparokshanubhuti. Here Nirvedam is the same. Sans the terrible, disgusting example. That example is not there about the crow dropping, but it is Nirveda, means I need to have a mild disgust towards these short ends and the means and ends, and then finite means, finite ends, and everything just comes to an end. This is what I have to overcome, and overcoming that, I want to look for something else. And so what is the conclusion from all my engagement with my life? The conclusion is, Nasti akritaha kritena. Kritena karmana akritam brahma na. By any amount of action which I unleash, in which I engage, kritena karmana, by the actions that I have performed or I will continue to perform, akritam brahma. This Brahman, which is myself alone, is akritam. Akritam means not a product. If it is not a product, it cannot be produced by karma. It's not a product. It simply is, and it happens to be what? You. It happens to be you. And then therefore, there is no going back here. So the adhikari is completely different. One is looking for quick, finite fixes, and the other one is looking for an ultimate, absolute, infinite fix, and which can only be had by knowing that one is infinite. Which brings us to the second point. The adhikari who is attracted to the first portion of the Veda is into doing. And the adhikari in the second portion of the Veda has graduated from doing to being, to knowing one's being, to knowing the nature of one's being. That is what the adhikari in the second portion of the Veda has graduated to. And it is a graduation because there is a growth. There is a growth. I am not dependent on all these things, and I don't keep making the same mistake all over again. What is the mistake? By thinking that I can produce the infinite, which happens to be myself. So adhikari bheda is there. One is wanting to know, the other one is wanting to do. And one has believed the nature of the self to be restless, upset, incomplete, and needing fixing. The other one is questioning that belief. Can the I just be a sad entity? If the I is a sad entity, then what will happen? Then I should be sad all the time. In sleep, I am not sad. Is anybody sad in sleep? Not at all possible. Neither are you sad. And even if you argue with me and say, no, I am sad, at least the family members are not sad when you go to sleep. Thank God. They say, don't have to deal with this fellow for a few hours. In sleep, there is no sorrow. No sorrow is there in sleep. And this vyabhichara, this contradiction itself shows that, okay, why am I believing myself to be a sad person? My nature is not that of a sad person. The adhikari has grown to question that nature, whereas the adhikari for the Vedanta Shastra, whereas the adhikari for the Veda has not questioned that, is taking that for granted and has started to believe that I am a sad individual, and then what? I want some ananda. So the sad one is seeking ananda. Sad ananda, that's all it will happen. The ananda will be overlaid on the sadness, that's all it will be there. So the adhikari is totally different. One is wanting a quick fix, the other one is wanting a complete transformation. One is into doing, the other one is wanting to know the nature of the self. One is dependent on every other dravya, all kinds of materials, people, etc. Here, this one is wanting to see the nature of the I, regardless of all these things which it looks dependent, but it is not. That person is questioning that, interrogating that. So therefore, we have adhikari bheda. We also have the Vishaya bheda. Vishaya means what? Subject matter. And what is the subject matter of the first portion of the Vedas? Wish fulfillment. That's all it is. Wish fulfillment. The appeasement of one's raga dvesha through a dharmic method. Because otherwise one will look for adharma. So the Shruti knows that all the crazy desires that we have, they need an outlet. Until that outlet is not there, one will not grow. Therefore, the outlet must be there. And if the outlet is not there, not only will there not be growth, there will also be a tendency for the person to look into shortcuts, adharmic ways. So the Shruti wants to keep this big baby, as we have been talking, because this is Kathopanishad's word, Balaha. This is a baby. And so the Shruti wants to keep this, the one who is still childish in one's pursuit. The Shruti wants to keep this fellow close. Why? If you cast out the fellow, these fellows, and say your pursuit is not valid, then they will just go find nefarious ways. They will start reading books on how to rob a bank, how to get rich quick, how to not get caught. See, this is how people are caught. And then the people who are these offenders who end up getting caught, nowadays they don't bother even asking questions. They just confiscate the devices, laptop, phone, etc. And the so-called person who thinks I can get away with murder would have done searches on Google. How to easily dispose of the body. That is how these people get caught. So like this, here the person is, the subject matter itself is different. The subject matter of the first portion of the Veda is dharma. Wish fulfillment through dharmic means, to keep this person on the path of dharma, to keep them busy. Why should they be kept busy? They are already looking for avenues to fulfill the ragadveshas. They are already busy. And if you don't keep them busy in the right way, what will happen? They will get busy in the wrong way. And therefore the Shruti is doing a great service of growing up these babies and making them ready to leave the toys behind in the playpen and venture out to see what is there in the world. So the subject matter of the first portion of the Veda is what? Dharma and wish fulfillment. For who? The one who has come to the conclusion, I am a desiring being. I am a wanting person. The subject matter of the second portion of the Veda is the one who is sick of all these desires and the pressures they create in the heart for their fulfillment. So the second portion of the Veda is what? What is the subject matter? Dropping, first questioning and then dropping the idea that I am a wanting person. That is the subject matter. The subject matter of the second portion of the Veda is freedom from being a wanting person. That I am a wanting person is questioned and completely dismissed through the Shastra itself, through all the Upanishads. And so that is the subject matter of the second portion of the Veda, and the first portion of the Veda keeps the karta going. Because the karta continues to be karta. Because for the karta, the karmas are there. For the karta, the karma phalas ensue as a result of doing the karma. So, and then after getting the karma phala, what happens? The karta lives happily ever after. Never. The karta says, this is not what I wanted. I wanted something else. I want Yajna 2.0, 3.0. I want a redo of this. Why? Because I did not like what I got. And I want to change what I got, so I did not like what I got. So now I am going to do this all over again because I want this. This is exactly what the problem is. The karta keeps doing. Here the kartritvam is falsified by the karta being falsified in the second portion of the Veda. The karta itself is falsified. That I am a desiring person, that I am a doer, itself is questioned and falsified. How is the doer falsified? By showing that there is a vyabhichara, a contradiction, because if your nature were to be a doer, you should be doing all the time. But sometimes you are sleeping, You're not doing all the time, therefore what? Therefore you're not intrinsically a doer. Atma is not a doer. Atma is that sentience which blesses all doing, all doership, and blesses the status of the doer, which is an as though superimposition upon the I, which is free of doing, doership, etc. And doer. This is the subject matter is completely different. Subject matter here is the pursuit of the finite in the first portion of the Veda. Here is the pursuit, quote unquote, of the infinite. We shouldn't even say pursuit. It's the recognition of myself as the infinite self, which is free of all longing. And that is the subject matter is different. The audience we have already seen is different. The prayojana, the purpose, the fruit of pursuing the first portion of the Veda and the second portion of the Veda are also totally not only different but opposite. What is the prayojana of doing the first portion of the Veda? You get ayasa, like after Kumbha Abhishekam, everybody will be very tired, all the volunteers will need to sleep and take some rest. So much work was done, so there is ayasa, shrama is there. And then what else is the fruit of the first portion of the Veda? Some kind of a dharmic growth will be there. That's a nice prayojana of the first portion of the Veda. I become freer and I have increased the threshold of what I thought I could do. I have increased the threshold of all the people I thought I could get along with. I could not get along with. While volunteering, I find that I could get along with them. I have grown. Before I would have walked away. But now I stayed and decided to help out. This is a good prayojana. But again, it is within time. When we talk of dharma, it is within time. And the actual phala of any yajna, Agnishtoma, Agnihotra, and all these, Somayaga, all these are what? Finite. Actual fruit is always finite. Fruit is never, ever infinite. Fruit is finite. The fruit of the yajna is finite. Because at some point it finishes. Then you have to do that all over again. Whereas here, the fruit is you. After the root cause of self-ignorance is removed, what is the fruit? You are the fruit. And what kind of you? The infinite, one who never comes to an end. Then this is one fruit is finite, in the other one the fruit is infinite. In fact, the fruit is nothing but your own nature as whole, free. And then finally, the sambandha. What is the connection between the first portion of the Veda and the fruit it produces? The connection in the first portion of the Veda between the subject matter and the prayojana, the fruit it produces, is what? Is the doership. And in the second portion of the Veda, the sambandha between the subject matter and the fruit is the revealed relationship. Pratipadaka, pratipadya, sambandha. It's an as though sambandha, really, because it's all about oneself. So this being the case, how can you say, this is the discussion that we are having here. I just summarized this. We have seen this before, but it was a little while ago, so I thought I would summarize this. So if this is the case, the Purva Pakshi's stance that the Vidya needs some accoutrements. The Purva Pakshi says, mere Vidya is not enough. Self-knowledge is not enough to take away the self-ignorance. So for in all the arguments, what have we seen? Like, for example, if I show you this crystal and say, this is crystal. Supposing there is somebody who's from Mars and they don't know what this is at all. So I show it and say, this is crystal. And somehow I'm able to make them understand. So when I say this is crystal, then what has happened? Crystal ignorance is removed. What are the sahakaris? What other things did you need? Do you need ghee in removing crystal ignorance? No. Do you need fire? No. Do you need 5 elements? No. Do you need mantras to know that this is crystal? No. We saw this also. Vastu tantram jnanam. Vastu tantratvat. Because it is centered on the object, not how I feel about it. It is centered on the object. It is not centered on the subject or the subjectivity of the subject. So therefore, the knowledge of the crystal, once it is shown, is crystal clear. Therefore, it is clear. Doesn't need any other thing. I don't need to do mantra japa in order to know this is crystal. And it is an independent revelation because the knowledge depends solely upon the means of knowledge. And what are the means of knowledge used in this example? Eyes. Abba, finally the answer came. Yeah, eyes. You see the crystal. Eyes. So the eyes, if the eyes are open and the crystal is there to see, you can't not see the crystal. If I were to hold it again one more time, again we have seen this example, but I think it's worth looking at again. And if I say, please do not look at the crystal, only look at my hand, can you oblige? Absolutely not. Because knowledge does not take your permission. May I? May I enlighten you? Would you like to lose self-ignorance? It doesn't ask. Would you like to lose crystal ignorance? Would you like to lose some other ignorance, pot ignorance? It doesn't ask for your permission. It's not based on will. In fact, the will has nothing to do with it. Because it's not based on your volition, your effort. There is no effort here. Eyes are open, mind is behind the eyes. That's all it needs. Sight takes place. Hearing takes place. Everything takes place. So therefore, Atma Jnanam, in fact, if this is true of any Jnanam, what to talk of Atma Jnanam? Here the crystal is not self-luminous, but even here the knowledge takes place without any other accoutrements. Sahakarinaha. There is no other sahakarin, no factors that are tangential. No factors that are connected to the revelation or the understanding that this is a crystal. Nothing is needed. The means of knowledge and the object of knowledge, when they are aligned, knowledge takes place. Vastu tantram jnanam. Therefore, that does not beg any other thing. It is not dependent on any other factors. Same thing we cannot say about karma. Karma is dependent on many, many, many factors. Why? There is will there. There is will there. And that will is exercised in karma. Because when I think about action, the action is dependent upon the actor. And the actor is a person endowed with free will, because we are talking of human beings here. Even dogs and cats have a certain amount of free will, but here we are talking of human beings. The actor also is what? Is interfering in the action. This is why in the Bhagavad Gita, the famous verse, what does it say? Karmani eva adhikarahate. For you have a right to action, but you do not produce the results. But you have free will to act. And the famous thing in the Shastra says, Kartum Shakyam, you are free to do. Akartum Shakyam, you are free to not do. And then, Anyathava Kartum Shakyam, you are free to do something differently. This freedom is there with you. Whereas this freedom is not there in knowing. You are not free to see this as a mango. Sometimes it's a crystal, sometimes it's an orange, sometimes it's a mango. You're not free to do that. You can't see it differently. You can't have your eyes open and say, I'm going to unsee this crystal. Can you do that? Absolutely not. You can't, you don't have that option. So, kartrutantram karma, vastu tantram. Vastu adhinam jnanam. This is why Adi Shankara takes a lot of time to refute this argument that jnanam also needs so many things. Because here we are confused. We think karma yoga we need, and then what else do we need? Bhakti we need, and then all these qualifications. Viveka, Vairagya, Mumukshutvam, Shamadama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Uparati, Samadhanam, all these things we need. We think of those are all as sahakaris. No, they are not sahakaris. They are prerequisites which are completely different. They are prerequisites. It's like me saying, when supposing somebody just gets up from sleep and I'm trying to show them the crystal, I'll say, I think you need to wash your eyes. That's all. That's what it is like. It's not a sahakari. And so if this much is understood, we can just see where we are. And we have seen here the last two verses, 16 and 17, Dehadi. Dehadyaihi avisheshena dehinaha grahanam nijam praninam tad avidyotham tavat karma vidhihi bhavet. He is addressing the very fine issue in 16 and 17 of until what time is karma of the first portion of the Veda applicable. And if you say, I have never even looked into the first portion of the Veda, you can just look at any karma. Until what time should I continue to keep doing karma? And then it says here in verse 16, it says that as long as the conviction with which one is born, what is the conviction? I am as good as the body. I am nothing other than the mind. I am as good as the senses. I am karta. I am bhokta. This, as long as this conviction, wrong conviction, as long as I have this misapprehension, until then the karma is to be done. Because I am separate from everything else. I have a sense of lack, and that sense of lack has to be fulfilled. I have a whole gamut of desires, and if I do not address the desires, they make me more and more frustrated. And so therefore I have to look at this and keep doing karma. Become a karta, become what I was already a karta. I continue to be a karta until which time the ajnanam does not drop. When the ajnanam drops, and we saw how beautifully he explained this, verse number 17, I'm just going quickly because we have already seen this at length. Neti neti iti dehadin apohya atma avasheshitaha. So through the teaching, and the pedagogy is given. The pedagogy is, the Vedanta pedagogy is the removal of wrong apprehensions. The misapprehension of oneself as a sad, querulous being, non-appreciative, complaining being. This wrong notion that I am a sad, angry, upset, finite, subject to death person, this being. So that sorrow, that is what has to be removed. And how is it removed? It is the knowledge of the I is not something that is unknown to me. That's why we keep asking this question in Arsha Vidya. What is that? Are you here? What's the answer? Yes. Abba, after so many years. Success. Are you here? Yes. You can't say no. Even if, you can. If you say, you could say no, but if you said no, you know what will happen? You are just reiterating your existence. You are advertising your existence. If you say no, you are simply advertising your existence louder than if you said yes. So therefore, the self-luminous I, the self-referenced I already know. That's why it can't stand unhappiness. I cannot stand anger. I cannot stand unkindness in me or in others. I cannot stand non-accommodation. I cannot stand non-compassion, both in me and in others. Why? Because I somehow know that is my nature. Pujya Swamiji used to give an example of this very famous musician in his time, Bade Ghulam Ali Khan. And it is said that at one of the concerts, he had a terrible, what is that called? Cold. He had a terrible cold. And so, but still, since the hall was full, packed, all the people had bought the tickets and everything, he didn't want to disappoint his audience. So he decides to do the concert. And then what does he do? He starts to sing. But because of his throat and his cold and coughing, he cannot go the full range of his beautiful voice, which he knows he has, and which, which other people know that he is capable of. So along comes a moment in the concert where he has to touch a very high note. So what does he do? He can't go there. Go there means he cannot reach it with his throat. So he shows it in the air. It's there. You know it's there. I know it's there, but I can't go there. So he takes it low, but shows it somewhere hanging there. Similarly, I know. I'm supposed to be happy. It is somewhere. I don't know where. It's there, it's here, it's there. It's somewhere. But I can't seem to access it. I know it. If the I were completely unknown, then actually nobody would be sad. I would be just like a wayside rock that does not know itself. It does not know itself, and therefore it does not have any kind of wrong ideas about itself at all. So, if I knew myself completely, then also I will not have any sorrow. This partial business is the problem. I have a partial understanding. I know I am, but please don't ask the next question, who are you? What are you? Don't ask that question. Out comes tumbling all kinds of nonsensical thoughts and ideas. So Atmajnanam in verse 17 is shown to be a corrective, shown to have a corrective pedagogy rather than putting new knowledge in. It simply corrects my wrong understanding of myself through words that are deployed like na iti, na iti, na iti. Achedyo yamadakyoyam akledyo shoshya evacha. Where? Bhagavad Gita. 2nd chapter. So, when the tune comes, you know it is Bhagavad Gita. So, achedya. Achedya, that which cannot be cut up. See, not, that the word not will come in all of them. Adahyah, that which is incapable, again the negative has come, of being burnt. This is the example of neti neti vakya. that which is incapable of being cut, incapable of being burnt, adahya. Achedyo yamadahyoyam akledyah, that which is not susceptible to any kind of water damage. Ashoshyah, that which cannot be subject to air damage, dried up, dehydrated. And this is the example of neti neti vakyas. 90% is negation, because all the wrong things have to be just put in the garbage. That's where it belongs. All the wrong notions. I don't love myself, nobody loves me, and in fact I don't love other people either. All these thoughts, all these wrong ideas have to be put to death, literally. Through these kinds of sentences. Neti neti iti vakyaihi, what happens? So the body identification that I am the body, etc., is taken away. Dehadin, this tadatmyam, the wrong identification. I am as good as the body, I am as good as the mind, I am as good as what I know, I am as good as what other people think of me, I am as good as what I don't know. All these things have to be taken away. So that the conscious disidentification as a result of the teaching of the Shastra, what does it do to me? It then, when I disidentify from the nonsensical thoughts, then I have some kind of a insight. What is that? There is something left. There is something left. Asti kinchit swayam nityam aham pratyaya lambanaha avasthatraya sakshi san panchakosha vilakshanaha. Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter? No. Vivek Chudamani, where the teacher asks the students to do a conscious negation, a strategic and conscious negation of negating everything that is finite. And then what is left? The student goes away, does the negation, comes back and says, Ayyo Guru, I have negated myself. I'm gone now, I am not even there. Who is talking? The one who is there only can talk. Then in response to this particular wrong idea, the teacher says, Asti kaschit, asti kinchit, something is there. That is what? Swayam. Swayam means it is self-standing by itself. It is not dependent, it's not leaning on something else. It's not wanting something to be validated by anything else. That whose existence is not validated by anything else, asti kinchit swayam nityam. That is unchanging all the time. Why do you say it's unchanging all the time? Because it is the witness of all the changes. Avasthatraya sakshi san panchakosha vilakshanaha. It is different from the 5 areas of commonly made errors. I am as good as the body, annamaya kosha. I am as good as the breathing and all the other involuntary functions. Respiration, digestion, circulation, that's the whole sum of who I am. Pranamaya kosha. I'm as good as what I think or what I don't think. Manomaya kosha. And then I am as good as what I do. Karta. Vijnanamaya kosha. That is all put aside. Then finally, Anandamaya kosha. Even that's a kosha. It is not Ananda here. It is Anandamaya, means the status of myself as Bhokta. That is also put away. That is also negated. Then when all these things are negated, I am neither sleeper, nor waker, nor dreamer. I am that which, so the Chaitanya, which supports the dreamer, sleeper, waker, without being any one of them. Through this kind of an analysis, what is there? Asti kinchit swayam nityam. It is there by itself, self-standing, nityam. What is it dependent on? How do I know it is there? It's not dependent on anything. How do I know it is there? Aham pratyaya lambanaha. I cognition. I know I am, that I cognition. That is how I know I am. And then this is what here it says that avashesha. Avashesha means Atma is left over. It's like a leftover. Everything else, all the accoutrements are taken away. What is left is Atma. After all the frills and everything is removed, what is left? The core of that which was supposed to supporting all the frills and laces and everything is Atma. And then that Atma, he says that here, Avishesha Atma Bodhartham Tena Avidya Nivartita. So then the Avishesha means devoid of all attributes. When this Atma is known, ignorance comes to an end. And then we saw that this coming to an end is what? Temporary or permanent? Permanent. Completely permanent. And here there is a krama in the negation of ignorance, because he says that once the ignorance is negated by pramana, pramanataha it is negated. Pramanataha means the Veda Vakya is the pramana. Veda is the pramana. Just like in looking at the crystal, the eyes are the pramana. In looking at myself, the Vedanta is the pramana. Vedantaika pramana. So the Vedanta alone is the pramana. And then, so when Vedanta is the pramana, in saying what? In I am the whole, I am free, I am limitless. Then how can the ignorance come back? Can you have crystal ignorance after the crystal knowledge? You can't. It will not come back. It's not possible to come back because that's how knowledge operates. No, but what if I forget? This is, you can forget this is called a crystal. You can forget the name. And with the Atma, there is no forgetting possible because it's not an object. What is it? You. You cannot never forget yourself. I know I am. And even the person with dementia will say what? I'm not remembering anything. You see, that is the beauty of this. So, you can't say, I'm not studying Vedanta these days because my memory is bad. That excuse is gone. I can't remember anything, therefore I will not study Vedanta. You need to remember when? Only when you want to teach. In order to lose the self-ignorance, memory is not needed because this is you. It is you that upholds even the memory. And so, therefore, he says that and another important point is made here. This ignorance that is negated by pramana, how can it arise again? Because it has no locus. What is the locus of avidya? Is it Atma? You have to say no. It is not Atma. And then, then what else is there other than Atma? Is it Anatma? No. Anatma cannot have ajnanam. Why? Because jadatvat, because it is jada. And Atma cannot have ajnanam because it is not jada. Same thing, same argument in both places. We have to flip it and see. And so, this is a very beautiful section. Continuing, the next one. Next one also we have kind of seen. Did we see the next one? Oh, we only chanted. Let's chant it again together. Nachet bhuyah prasuyeta karta bhokteti dhih katham sadasmiti cha vijnane tasmad vidya asahayika. Okay, tasmad vidya asahayika. There is a break there, you please change that. So, nachet bhuya prasuyeta. So, see this one, what is that? How, nachet chet means if. If na prasuyeta, if it is not born, if it is not born, what is that born? The idea that I am a doer, karta. The idea that I am a doer of my action, I am the agent of my action. Bhokta, I am done in by other people's actions. I am affected by the omissions and commissions of others. This is a corollary of ajnanam. So ajnanam means kartritva, bhoktritva, buddhi will always be there. And this karta, bhokta, it's there. So he says that how, if this is there, nachet bhuya prasuyeta, karta, bhokta, iti dhihi katham. How can in this buddhi, which is enlightened to the truth of myself, sport the kartritva identification, sport the identity with myself as the doer? How can I do that? It's a rhetorical question, it's just not possible. It's not possible for me to think of myself as karta or bhokta. That's why in Vedanta we keep saying as though. Everything is as though, mithya. Everything is as though from start to finish. It's a series of as though. I always say I need these quotation marks there hanging in the air permanently. As though. As though karta means what? The Atma blesses or rather reveals the status change of the I into morphing as it were into the doer. And then just like a wave is there in the ocean and the ocean observes the wave arising and falling, rising and falling. So when there is something to do, then the Atma blesses or reveals this karta, which is mithya. Like the wave itself is mithya in relation to the ocean. So this mithya wave of kartritvam arises, is sustained, arises again within quotes, in this luminous, self-luminous I, is sustained by the self-luminous I and is dependent upon the self-luminous I, resolves in the self-luminous I in sleep when there is no kartritvam. Same thing before bhokta. So the Atma, as though without undergoing any change, morphs, we can say, into karta without being karta. Morphs into karta without being karta, parades as the bhokta without becoming bhokta, and so it is not really transformed into anything. Like again, to use the crystal example, so we have very handy show and tell we have. So all these cloths. So then we put yellow cloth. What is that? Yeah, brahmachari. Yeah. Yeah, with ashram appropriate examples we have to put. So then a new brahmachari is there walking around in the ashram. Oh, when did you come? Who are you? What are you going to be doing? And then after that what? Of course there will be an orange cloth and then what do? Then we show like this. What is that? Yeah, Swami Kristalananda. Okay, and so then this is how it is. But is this a brahmachari? No. Is this a Swami? No. Swamitvam is as though superimposed. The orange color is as though as it were superimposed upon the crystal, which is free of orangeness, which is free of yellowness. Similarly, upon the I, all the actions. I am karta, I am bhokta, the status is as though superimposed without making really any change in the I, which is as clear and free of all associations like even this crystal. And so then therefore he says, sadasmi iti ja vijnane. In this knowledge, in this Brahman knowledge, in this Brahman knowledge that I am Sat alone, how can this knowledge be dependent on actions? Meaning it is not dependent on actions. This knowledge cannot be dependent on action at all. All I need is to know I am free. I'm already free. This freedom is an as though freedom. Like the cows which the brahmachari in the story had to pretend tie. He comes home late, brings the cows, somebody has stolen all the rope. Gone. Then the teacher suggests pretend to tie them. And he says, oh, the teacher must have some mantra. I need this mantra. Forget Vedanta. Tomorrow I have to ask him for this mantra. Because as soon as he pretend tied each cow, and the story goes, there were hundreds of them, and it immediately settled down, did not move. The teacher slept very, very well. But the student, every half an hour he woke up to make sure the cows were not run away. Had the cows run away, had the cows already ran away, then what would happen? His Vedanta career would have come to an abrupt end. So he had to take care of the cows, because that's what the Guru had told. Take care of the cows. He didn't sleep all night. And the next day morning he said, come on, let's go to the pasture. Let's go to the water. Not a single one is moving. He gets mad. He says, what is this? You made me lose sleep all night and now you are not listening. He takes a stick and goads it. It goes like this. Then he goads it from the other side. It goes like this. It even endures some light beating, but it does not move. Will not move. Absolutely will not move. Runs to the teacher in distress. Hey Guru, Bho, Guru, your mantra is very strong. Please withdraw the mantra. Guru says, idiot, did you untie them? What? I never tied them to begin with. Go untie each and every one of them. And as soon as he pretended to untie them, they ran. They also were wanting to go to the water, to go to pasture, to eat some grass. They were also missing breakfast. And then, as soon as he, as though untied them, they ran. Moksha is like that. There is no rope. I think of myself as bound without any rope. Why? Because it is all an aropa. That's what. There is no rope. But there is aropa. There is aropa means a superimposition upon the I as bound. I'm not bound. If I'm not bound, I don't need to be free. If I'm not enslaved, I don't need to be saved. No bondage. Yet there is a feeling of bondage. So it's not that bondage has to be removed. The feeling has to be falsified to show that what you are feeling is not the reality. So sadasmi iti vijnane, where will the karta bhokta be? Gone. The rise of this knowledge, rise means not that there is a timetable. The dropping of the ignorance and the rise of clarity, that is better. The rise of clarity makes me see that there is nothing here. Absolutely nothing here. In this sadasmi, it's not that I was bound and now I am free. I was already free. Totally and completely free. And then now I am, and what took the, so did the brahmachari need help in untying the cows? No. Why? Because it was all as though. So the vidya has no sahayika. There are no other co-factors for vidya. Vidya is a self-standing, independent methodology. That is all that is needed for the freedom. Then there is a little bit of a subject change. He talks now, he's going to talk about he's going to give some Shruti examples. And along with that, a few other examples we have. So, the one example in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is already there. So, Amritatvam Shrutam Tasmat in line 3. But then, in line 1 of the verse 21. But then along with that, there is a wonderful, There are many vakyas. There is one wonderful vakya in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Yajnena jnanena tapasa brahmanaha anashakena vividishanti. Vividishanti means they take to a life of sannyasa. So why is sannyasa argument important? The sannyasa argument is important because the Shastra gives two lifestyles. Not just in the Bhagavad Gita, but also in the Upanishad itself. It gives two kinds of lifestyles that one can follow, and then here, if you say that karma is the only thing and knowledge also requires the help of karma, that means what? Jnana karma samuchchaya vada khandanam is going on. That jnana and karma cannot together, they are not needed to produce the knowledge, or because knowledge is not a product. That is what the Adi Shankara, the Siddhantin, is arguing. So here in this context, if jnana karma samuchchaya vada is upheld, then sannyasa, the monastic culture, the monastic path, and the monastic lifestyle, no more than path, I think we should use the word lifestyle. The monastic lifestyle will be at risk. And why should the monastic lifestyle not be at risk? Because it is enjoined by the same Shastra that you pretend to uphold. You see, it's a judo move on that fellow. And so we'll be seeing that tomorrow. What time? 7 to 8. And then after that there will be rituals, and the Kumbhabhisheka Muhurta is at 10:20. And then again we will come back for class at 4:30, our regular time, and then satsang will be at 7:30. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.